So, it's been a while, hasn't it? Before I dive into the meat and veg of this video, I just wanted to take a second and just say thank you. Whether you've subscribed and we've had a good chat in any of my comments, or if you've just stopped by and watched a video or two of mine, from the bottom of my heart, thanks. Your praise, your criticism, your feedback, any of your support has meant the world to me, especially these. Hello. I'll try not to let these go to my head. But I digress. After quite a while off, I needed to kick myself into doing this again. And I feel like the way to do so is to look back on what has been the best, the worst, and the weirdest year of my life, what I've learned from it, and what that means for this channel. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome to New Rising Media, your home of hands-on reviews and gloves-off opinions about tech and gaming. I'm Jason England, all-round nerd journalist, and I thank you, right there in camera one, for taking the time out of your busy day to check out this video. Cheers. Right, for those who don't care about storytime bullshit like this and just want to know what I've got planned, there's handy little chapters in the timeline just down there, so you can skip ahead past all of this stuff, where I take you back to January 2021. The US was reeling from the insanity of an attempted insurrection. Meanwhile, all of us in the UK were told once again to stay at home after the Tories dropped the ball again, left applying restrictions way too late again, and saw a massive spike in hospitalizations and deaths due to insert name of virus here. You know the one I'm talking about. At this point, one of the most horrific times for this country and also for the world, I was offered and accepted the job of my dreams. Such a weird backdrop to have that moment happen. After a decade of reporting on and reviewing technology myself, trying to prove myself worthy of the big leagues, they finally got in touch. And so far, I must say, it's been an absolute blast. I work with two incredible teams on what I love to do, and I realise how incredibly lucky I am to do that. In fact, you'll see some of my video work on Laptop Mag's YouTube channel, so I'll stick the eye above my head around there somewhere. Go and subscribe to it. And then it was just a few quiet months as I started working away, trying to prove to myself I actually deserved what I had, and all of that normal stuff that you get when you start a job that you really wanted to have. I did YouTube stuff in the background, it was all fine. And then things flowed through to the early summer when I went to Download Festival, and holy shit, in the midst of a pandemic, I went to a music festival. It was one of the government's pilot events where they tested the safety of mass gatherings by having people showing that they had negative lateral flow tests. Turns out a lot of people faked theirs, but we'll get onto that in a second. That glimpse, that small weekend glimpse of normality was one of the best feelings I've had in a long time. And since all international travel was basically not allowed, it meant you had to focus on UK bands, and we saw some incredible stuff. Speaking of bands, please check out Sleep Token, one of the most original acts going right now, and you will absolutely love them. But circling back to what I said before, them lot telling me I was safe didn't actually pan out to anything, because alas, I came home and I tested positive for insert name of virus here. Luckily, I had had one jab at the time, so my symptoms were slightly more mild, but I did take a grand tour of the symptoms. And at that point, when I went to a pilot event, I wanted to exercise a bit more safety. So I took a lateral flow test every day, meaning I caught it basically at the immediate moment that it happened. Like the day before I was negative, and then that day I was positive. My girlfriend was in the living room with the door shut, working from home, and she had been double jabbed. So luckily that gave me quite a bit of time to like prepare myself for self-isolation in here. You think this is a studio? I call it a spare room. I'm not joking. This is literally, if I turn the camera to around here, a spare room. And yeah, she tested negative throughout. I managed to successfully isolate myself in this box room, but nobody quite tells you about the mental impact of sitting in a tiny room by yourself. It's not great. To say the least. The cabin fever really fucked me up. I came out of it with the same self-destructive tendencies that I had before, and I was truly back at my lowest. So I did what I had to do. I checked myself back into therapy. My depression and feelings of being a fraud impacted my work and my life. And I spoke to an amazing person from Insight Healthcare for 8 weeks. We went in depth about a lot of things that have affected me. We figured out my anxiety that starts waking up every day came from an unrealistic promise I made to my granddads and a just downright refusal to forgive myself for the horrible person I was to some people at university. These all, alongside being isolated to just a tiny room by myself to let thoughts ruminate in my head, led to an overwhelming feeling that I don't deserve anything of what I have. You may have seen it a little bit in my work. It's weird looking back on them now, like there's moments where, like there's some videos where I felt a lot more creatively inspired and you see a lot more editing work going into them, and then there's others that just seemed a little bit more paint by numbers. Sometimes I make jokes that don't really land that well because they just hit a little bit close to home. Think of it like imposter syndrome on speed with just like a little sprinkling of anxiety and depression put into there as well. It's not great. But as I said, I had 8 incredible sessions with Insight Healthcare and also looked past that horrible stiff upper lip nature a lot of British people have, where we try and think mental health problems aren't really a thing, that it's just something that you can get over, but it really isn't. You need to work on it. And so we come up to winter and now, and I wanted to record more videos than I have, but I couldn't. You see, the world of tech journalism, like any job, has its peaks and valleys in terms of how much stuff you've got to do. For us, it gets a little bit quieter from about February, March time through to around the end of September, which is new iPhone season. And at that point, everything just ramps up. New iPhones, new Google phones, Black Friday sales season, that's when we all turn into big salespeople. And then it powers on through to December, where we've got to write all of the end of year wrap up stuff. I wrote a pretty good piece on Laptop Mag about what laptops will look like in 30 years to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Laptop Mag. I'll drop a link in the description, you can read that for yourself. And January, CES season. So that's when I became a bit of a hermit and was just sat here typing away. If I was to give this year a rating, because that's something I've learned to do over the last year at Laptop Mag, I'd probably give it 4 stars. There's some shit, and that shit was pretty bad, but it can be easily forgiven when you take everything into account. I've fought hard to be here, and I'm very happy to be where I am. Now then, that is all of my 2021 wrapped up. What did I learn from it, and how can that be applied to 2022? Well, it starts by applying clear boundaries. This right here, this is a hobby that I have a lot of fun doing. That is what this will continue to be. I'm not gonna commit myself to a strict schedule like I've tried to do in the past with weekly uploads, because once I do that, then things start to feel a bit more like a chore when I actually want to put my whole into all of the videos that I do. Next, I'll probably drop a bit of a, let's say, a season finale-esque video in October as I go off the radar to work myself to the bone over those few months. Because when I was younger, when I was 21, I first started New Rising Media 10 years ago. Here I am. I had so much more energy and I had the flexibility of living at home with my parents to just come home from my full-time job and just sink so much time into my hobby. But now, I'm 31. I can't handle my drink anywhere near as good as that guy can. I have bills to pay, I have chores to do, and an ever-growing list of adult responsibilities that I need to try and fit into my ever-dwindling amount of energy. And also, thanks to the therapy that I've been through, I need to learn to appreciate having a bit of fun and having a bit of me time. Every human needs to set time aside to do nothing, to sit back and say, you know what, I'm gonna do f*** all for the next few hours and just play games, or maintain a terrarium, or read a book, or even sneak in a bit of an afternoon nap when your partner's not looking, but shh, don't tell her that. What I'm saying in a very long-winded way is your work-life balance is important, and if there is an imbalance, like what happened around about the time that I made the Soundcore Liberty 3 Pro review, then it becomes a slog that I don't really enjoy doing. So that balance becomes quite hard to maintain when my job is a lot more full on in those key months. So when you see incredible tech YouTubers like MKBHD and the Tech Chap and Sarah Dietschy do all of their year wrap-up videos in December, I'll just do mine a little bit earlier in October. And finally, what are the ideas that excite me? Because like you, YouTube has basically become my replacement for TV. I subscribe to a lot of people a lot of content inspires me, and then that drives me back here to do more stuff. Because while earbud reviews are cool and they get views, and of course I'll be doing more in the future, I want to take this time to try new things and explore new areas that I haven't explored before. So what does that mean? Well, it starts with 1 year later long-term reviews of the M1 MacBook Pro, the PS5, and it's just behind there, the Xbox Series S. It's fascinating how in 12 short months the world has changed around all of these, particularly this. There's a whole lot of people out there who think, I do video, I must have this, where actually you don't, and you could save yourself a little bit of money and go for this thing. Next, more gaming content. Since inheriting the Commodore 64 that my parents got as a wedding present, gaming has been central to my life. My girlfriend and her family are a bunch of foodies, and they have a really interesting way of remembering past memories. They connect it to the incredible dishes that they had at the time. I was built a little differently, and I connect my memories to what I was playing at the time. To pick two off the top of my head, I was playing The Getaway on the PS2. At the time, my gran took me to a model train fair that I absolutely loved. And while I was driving down to Lego Windsor to get my driver's license, I played Lego Racers on the Game Boy Advance, but the one without the backlit screen. So I don't know how I managed to do it, but I managed to memorize the tracks that I was racing on. And I was leaning so close to the window when you see the lights passing by on the motorway, so I could actually see it every few seconds. What I'm trying to say is they're pretty important to me, and I will share that love I have for them in the form of some videos. I know I'm not talking about Let's Plays, and I'm not talking about reviews. So many other people do that stuff so much better than I ever possibly could. So I want to do something different. I want to go deep. I want to do kind of video essays about games that I love, specific moments that I love in games. I want to scratch my storytelling itch and take a look at games that have plot moments that don't really hit right and try to rewrite them. Basically, I want to share my excitement for this stuff with you, and I look forward to trying new things in that field. And if I get the time, emphasis on finding the time to do this, because it drained so much of my time when I used to do this in the past. I'd love to get back into streaming. I used to do Twitch streaming and I loved it, bar one fatal flaw. The engagement is 100% fake. Now, I got advice from a couple of friends who joined this support small streamers trend bullshit. It is just a giant circle jerk where they will come and watch your stream, comment on it a little bit, tell you that they're about to go to stream in your chat in return for you to go and engage with them, and that's not really expanding an audience and talking to new people. Now, I don't know whether streaming on YouTube will get me more of the same, or nobody will watch it, or whether it will be a chance to talk to amazing like-minded individuals such as yourselves in real time. But whatever happens, one thing is for sure, I have the streaming gear to do it, and I'd love to take another crack at it. But of course, pump the brakes. All of this is conditional. People making plan videos and resolution videos really make me cringe, because much like making New Year's resolutions, it just creates high self-expectations and turns your year into quite a boring to-do list. So rather than getting towards the end of the year and having this video quoted back to me with people saying, oh, but you didn't do this thing and you didn't do that thing, let me just emphasize that life happens. I may end up being asked to expand my video creation on Laptop Mag, which will scratch that itch. I may get hit by a fucking bus, or God forbid, I may just get a little bit bored of doing this. I'm not going to punish myself for having an attention span, because at the end of the day, these are hobbies. Some of us are incredibly lucky to turn these hobbies into jobs, but they should be something that we have fun doing first. But in the spirit of transparency, if I start to feel like that, then I will obviously let you guys know first. And so I'd like to end this video with a pretty simple message. 2021 has been all over the shop for me, and I'm sure that many of you have similar stories. My heart goes out to anyone who has lost someone, watched someone go through pain, been through pain themselves because of this wretched pandemic. And I congratulate anyone who has managed to find some good news for themselves in these most trying of times. But, and I know this is corny as shit, better days are ahead of us. I know that so many people said exactly the same thing last year, and here we are again, another new variant that is spreading quickly and causing a lot of damage. But we have so many reasons to be optimistic right now. The need for all of these restrictions and the need for all of this caution will soon start to subside because of a couple of key things. Polyvalent vaccines, basically how the flu shot works, in having multiple variants and predicted variants in one shot, and improved antivirals. These together, in my opinion, means that good stuff is coming for us. Yes, it feels so long since I got to live a day that vaguely felt normal. And I know that a lot of you feel the same way. To some, getting back to normal will just feel like riding a bike. You just get straight back to it. For other people like me, you'll have a fucking panic attack at a restaurant because it feels so crowded, even though it's just got the same amount of tables and chairs in as it had in the past. Either way, the word endemic gets kicked around a lot, and I know we're getting pretty close to it now. So stay safe out there. Thank you for supporting this channel. It feels weird at the end of this video to say, please leave a comment and like and subscribe, but my comments are open. I'm ready to talk to anyone. If you've got any video ideas or suggestions about stuff that I could make, let's chat. And don't forget, likes if you enjoyed the video, subs if you loved it, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.